Jiho Kim stared out the viewport as the transport ship approached the massive space station. The Galactic Academy of Sciences looked like a giant metal flower floating in space, with 5 huge petal-shaped sections connected to a central hub. "First time off-world?" asked the blue-skinned attendant with 4 arms. "First time off Earth," Jiho said with a smile. "First human from Earth to attend the Academy, actually." The alien's eyes widened. "You're from the Deathworld. Actually born there." Jiho nodded. He was used to this reaction by now. In the 6 weeks since Earth had been officially contacted by the Galactic Federation, he had learned that his home planet was classified as a Class 12 Deathworld, a planet so dangerous that most galactic citizens couldn't believe anything could evolve there, let alone build spaceships. The ship docked with a soft bump. Jiho grabbed his single bag and followed the other new students down the ramp. The station's artificial gravity felt strange, too light, making him bounce slightly with each step. "Welcome to Galactic Academy Station," said a tall bird-like creature wearing a gold uniform. "I am Orientation Officer Kree. Please proceed to processing for room assignments and identification chips." Jiho joined the line of strange beings. Some had too many limbs, others had none. Some floated rather than walked. He saw creatures covered in scales, feathers, and things he couldn't even describe. "Kim, Jiho. Earth," he said when he reached the front. The processor, a robot with a friendly face display, beeped. "Earth. Classification: Deathworld. Special accommodations noted. Room 47B assigned roommate Lee Tae-woo from Human Colony Delta 9. Jiho felt relief wash over him. Another human. At least he wouldn't be completely alone. Following the floating map projected from his new ID chip, Jiho found his room and opened the door. Inside was a young man with black hair and eyes that looked Korean like his own, but something seemed different about him. "Hello, you must be Jiho," the young man said, standing up from his bed. He was tall and slim, too slim. "I'm Tae-woo, from Delta 9. Jiho shook his hand, noticing immediately how light and fragile it felt. "Nice to meet you. I'm from Seoul." "Seoul? On actual Earth?" Tae-woo's eyes grew wide. "My great-grandparents left Earth 4 generations ago. I've never met anyone actually born there." Jiho set his bag on the empty bed. "Well, now you have. Is it true what they say? That Earth has—" Tae-woo lowered his voice. "Microbes everywhere. And extreme weather. And predators." Jiho laughed. "Yes to all 3. We call the microbes bacteria, and most are harmless. The weather can get rough sometimes, but we have good warning systems. And the dangerous predators mostly stay in wild areas now." "Amazing," Tae-woo whispered. "I was raised in a sterile colony with perfect climate control and no animals bigger than a small bird." Jiho noticed that Tae-woo moved carefully, like someone who had never needed to run or jump or dodge. Colony humans, he realized, had adapted to the easier conditions of their artificial worlds. Their door chimed, and when it opened, a holographic schedule appeared. "Orientation begins in 1 hour in Main Hall 1. A computer voice announced. "All new students must attend. Ready to meet the rest of our classmates?" Tae-woo asked with nervous excitement. Jiho nodded, suddenly feeling the weight of being Earth's first representative. "As ready as I'll ever be." As they walked through the gleaming corridors, Jiho couldn't help but notice how everyone stared at him. Not just curious looks, but expressions of awe and fear. Even the largest, most intimidating alien students gave him extra space. "Why is everyone looking at me like that?" he whispered to Tae-woo. Tae-woo gave a nervous laugh. "Because you're from Earth. Even I find it hard to believe. You were raised on a world that would kill most of the students here within minutes. To them, you might as well be a superhero." Jiho took a deep breath as they approached the main hall doors. "This is going to be interesting." The main hall was filled with hundreds of new students from across the galaxy. Jiho and Taewoo found seats near the back. The room buzzed with different languages, though everyone's translator chip made it sound like their native tongue. "Welcome, new students," said a tall woman with silver skin who stood at the podium. "I am Director Nara. You are the brightest minds from 57 worlds. Your time here will prepare you to lead our galactic community." Jiho listened carefully as the director explained the academy's rules and schedules. He noticed many students staring at him and whispering. "For our first activity," Director Nara continued, "we will test different gravity settings to find what is most comfortable for everyone." A wave of panic crossed Taewoo's face. "Oh no," he whispered. "Colony humans don't do well with gravity changes." "Warning, gravity shift beginning," announced a voice from above. Suddenly, Jiho felt heavier as the floor pulled him down harder. Around him, students began to slump in their seats. Some of the smaller aliens fell to the floor, unable to stand. "This is 1.5 standard gravity," said Director Nara, who was leaning on her podium for support. "If this is too much for you, please raise your hand or tentacle for assistance." Nearly every student raised something, except Jiho. He stood up straight, looking around in confusion. This felt lighter than Earth's gravity to him. He walked down to help Taewoo, who was struggling to breathe. "Are you okay?" Joe asked, lifting Taewoo easily with one arm. "How are you standing?" Taewoo gasped. A blue-skinned professor hurried over. "Young man, please sit down before you hurt yourself." "I'm fine, Professor," Jiho said. "This is actually lighter than what I'm used to." The room went quiet. Even Director Nara stared at him. "Gravity returning to standard," announced the voice. Everyone sighed with relief as the heaviness went away. "You," Director Nara pointed at Jiho. "What is your name and homeworld?" "Jiho Kim, from Earth," he answered. Murmurs spread through the room. "Deathworlder," someone whispered loudly. A tall, elegant woman with purple eyes approached him. "I am Professor Biol, Xenobiology Department. What is Earth's standard gravity compared to galactic standard?" Jiho thought for a moment. "According to my orientation materials, Earth's gravity is about 2.2 times galactic standard." Professor Biol's eyes widened. "You evolved on a world with more than twice our standard gravity. That explains your muscle density and bone structure." Jiho didn't know what to say. On Earth, he was just average, not particularly strong or tough. "Class," Director Nara said, regaining everyone's attention. "This is why the Academy values diversity. Each species brings unique adaptations. Mr. Kim's gravity resistance is just one example." As orientation continued, Jiho became the center of attention. At lunch, students from various species approached his table. "Is it true Earth has massive bodies of uncontained water?" asked a rock-like student. "Yes, we call them oceans," Jiho explained. "They cover most of our planet. And you let them just exist." The rock student shuddered. A small floating student with big eyes joined them. "I heard Earth has extreme temperature variations, sometimes hot, sometimes cold." Jiho nodded. "We have seasons. Where I live, it can be 35 degrees in summer and -10 in winter." "In a single year," gasped the floating student, nearly dropping to the table in shock. Taegu watched with amusement as Jiho answered questions about Earth's horrifying conditions. "You're a celebrity," he whispered when the crowd finally thinned. Jiho shrugged. "I'm just describing normal life. There's nothing normal about surviving conditions that would kill everyone else here," Taegu said with newfound respect. "Day 1, and you've already proven you're the toughest student at the Academy." As they headed to their first class, Professor Biol stopped Jiho in the hallway. "Mr. Kim, I hope you'll consider letting me run some tests. Earth humans have never been studied extensively." "What kind of tests?" Joe asked cautiously. Professor Biol smiled. "Nothing invasive. I just want to understand how your species adapts to conditions that would be lethal to others." Jiho nodded slowly. "I guess that would be okay." "Excellent. I have a feeling you're going to surprise us in many more ways, Professor Bayol said, her eyes gleaming with scientific curiosity. Jiho's first week at the academy passed quickly. In most academic subjects, he was just average, but in physical tasks, he continued to amaze everyone. Today was his first xenobiology lab with Professor Bayol, and he was both excited and nervous. The laboratory was large and bright, with 20 workstations arranged in a circle. Each station had strange equipment Jiho had never seen before. He found his assigned spot next to a purple-skinned student with 4 arms. "I am Hamey," the student said. "I have heard much about the Earth human." "Nice to meet you," Jiho replied with a smile. Professor Bayol entered the room in a flowing white lab coat. "Today, we will study how different species respond to environmental changes." First test, temperature variation. A soft hum filled the room as the temperature began to drop. Numbers on the wall showed it falling quickly. 25 degrees Celsius, 20 degrees Celsius, 15 degrees Celsius. At 15 degrees Celsius, alarms began to sound at several stations. The purple student, Hami, was shivering violently. Danger level," Hamey stuttered, teeth chattering. Around the room, other students were having similar reactions. Some pulled emergency heating blankets from under their desks. Others activated personal environment fields that surrounded them with warm air. Jiho felt slightly cool but comfortable. He reached into his bag and pulled out a light jacket. "Mr. Kim," Professor Bayol called, "you seem unaffected by what others consider dangerous cold." "This is like fall weather where I come from," Jiho explained as he put on his jacket. "In winter, it gets much colder." The temperature returned to normal, and the shivering students relaxed. "Now for the second test," Professor Bayol announced. "Chemical resistance." Robots delivered small clear boxes to each station. Inside each box was a different colored liquid. "These are mild irritants specific to each species," Professor Bayol explained. "Use the protective gloves to place 1 drop on the test paper, not on your skin." Jiho carefully put on the gloves and opened his box. His liquid was bright orange. As he reached for the dropper, the student behind him bumped his chair. The box tipped over. The orange liquid spilled across the table, heading straight for Hami. Without thinking, Jiho caught the box with his bare hands. The liquid covered his skin, and he felt a burning sensation. "Emergency," shouted Professor Bayol, rushing over. "Medical team to xenobiology lab." Jiho looked at his hands. They were red and stinging, but not badly hurt. "It's okay," he said. "It just burns a little." Professor Bayol stared at him in shock. "That's diluted citric acid. It should have dissolved your outer skin layer immediately." "Oh," Jiho said, confused. "On Earth, we put this in food sometimes. It's just like lemon juice." The medical team burst through the door. A woman in a white uniform hurried to Jiho. Her name badge read Nurse Minji. "Let me see," she said, taking his hands gently. She ran a scanner over them and looked puzzled. "Minor irritation only. And your skin is already beginning to heal." The entire class gathered around, amazed. "Your cellular regeneration rate is remarkable," Nurse Minji said. "And according to this scan, your bone density is 3 times galactic standard." Professor Bayol looked excited. "Class, this is an unprecedented opportunity to study Deathworld adaptations. Mr. Kim's species has evolved extraordinary defenses against conditions that would be lethal to most of us. But I'm just normal on Earth," Jiho said, embarrassed by all the attention. "That's what makes it so fascinating," Professor Bayol replied. "Your normal is our impossible." As Nurse Minji applied a cooling gel to his hands, Jiho noticed how the other students looked at him now, not with fear, but with awe. "Does it hurt?" Hamey asked quietly. "Just a bit," Jiho admitted. "Like a sunburn." "You saved me from getting splashed," Hamey said. "Thank you. On my world, that acid would have melted my skin completely." Jiho smiled. "That's what friends do." they help each other. For the first time, Jiho felt like he might belong at the academy after all, not because he was the same as everyone else, but because his differences could be valuable. The academy cafeteria was busy with students from all species. Jiho sat at a large round table with Tae-woo, Hami, and several other classmates who had become his friends. His tray held standard academy food, plus a small red bottle. "What is that?" asked a small insect-like student named Hyunwoo, pointing at the bottle. "Hot sauce from Earth," Jiho replied, opening it. "The food here is too bland for me." He sprinkled the red liquid over his meal. The sweet smell made Hyunwoo's antennae twitch. "May I scan it?" Hyunwoo asked, holding up a small device. "Sure," Jiho said, sliding the bottle over. Hyunwoo's compound eyes widened as he read the scanner results. "This contains capsaicin. That's classified as a neurotoxin." Everyone at the table froze. Jiho had already taken a big bite of his spicy food. "Are you trying to kill yourself?" gasped a plant-like student with green skin. Jiho chewed and swallowed, confused by their reaction. "It's just spicy. Many humans eat this every day." "You willingly eat neurotoxins?" Hemi asked, all four hands clutching her chest in shock. "It doesn't hurt us," Jiho explained. "It just adds flavor and heat to food." Tae-woo leaned over and whispered, "Colony humans don't eat spicy food either. It was eliminated from our diets generations ago." A crowd was gathering now as Jiho continued eating his hot sauce-covered meal with no ill effects. "What other toxins do Earth humans consume regularly?" asked a floating blob student. Jiho thought for a moment. "Well, many of us drink coffee or tea every morning. They contain caffeine." Hyunwoo nearly fell off his seat. "Caffeine is a powerful insecticide. It would kill my species instantly." "And alcohol," Jiho added. "Many humans drink that for fun." "You poison yourselves for fun?" asked the green plant student, sounding horrified and impressed at the same time. Jiho realized he had become the center of attention again. Students from all over the cafeteria were listening now. He saw Hyunwoo discreetly recording him with a small device. "What about Earth itself?" Someone called out. "Is it really as dangerous as they say?" Jiho nodded. "We have large oceans covering most of the planet. Many humans swim in them for fun. Swimming in uncontained water." Several voices gasped. "And we have forests with thousands of different animals, some of which hunt and eat others." "You live with active predators?" asked a jelly-like student. "We even keep smaller predators as pets," Jiho said with a smile. "My family has a dog named Mango." "What's a dog?" asked Tae-woo. "A descendant of wolves. Pack hunters with sharp teeth," Jiho explained. "But dogs are friendly and loyal to humans." The cafeteria had gone completely silent as everyone listened. "What about weather?" asked a rock-like student. "I heard Earth has extreme weather." "We have storms, hurricanes, tornadoes, blizzards," Joe listed casually. "Last year, I went camping during a thunderstorm. Lightning struck a tree about 50 meters from our tent." "And you survived?" someone asked in awe. "It was actually beautiful," Jiho said, remembering. "The whole sky lit up, and we could feel the thunder in our chests." Hyunwoo was recording everything. "This is amazing material for my cultural studies project. I'm calling it Human Survival Tales." Jiho looked embarrassed. "These aren't survival tales. This is just normal life on Earth. That's what makes it so incredible," Hyunwoo said, his antennae quivering with excitement. "Your normal day would be a near-death experience for most of us." As lunch ended, students reluctantly returned to classes, many still whispering about the Earth human who ate toxins, swam in uncontained water, and kept predators as pets. Tae-woo walked beside Jiho. "You know you're going to be famous across the entire station by tonight, right?" Jiho sighed. "I never thought being ordinary could make me so extraordinary." The Academy's training center was a massive room with exercise equipment for all types of bodies. Jiho arrived with Taewoo for their mandatory physical education class. Students from all departments had to attend once per week. "I hate physical day," Taewoo complained. "Colony humans always do poorly." "It can't be that bad," Jiho said. A tall, muscular alien with red skin and 4 arms stood at the center of the room. He wore a black uniform with silver stars on the collar. "I am Captain Do-yoon," he announced in a deep voice. "Today we test endurance, strength, and reflexes." The students lined up by species. Jiho noticed a group of warrior-like aliens with tough skin and sharp teeth. They looked strong and confident. "First test, endurance run," Captain Do-yoon said. "Run until you cannot continue." The track circled the entire training center. Everyone began running. After just 2 laps, many students dropped out, breathing hard. The plant-like students stopped first, followed by the floating species who weren't used to moving their bodies so much. By lap 10, only the warrior aliens, Jiho, and a few others remained. Taewoo had stopped at lap 3, his thin chest heaving. At lap 20, even the warrior aliens began to slow. One by one, they stepped off the track. By lap 30, only Jiho and 1 warrior alien remained. "Enough," called Captain Do-yoon after lap 40. Both passed with highest marks. Jiho wasn't even breathing hard. He felt like he could have run much longer. "How did you do that?" asked the warrior alien, whose name was Juzin. "Only my species, bred for battle, can run so far. I used to run cross-country at my high school," Jiho explained. 10 kilometers every morning before class. Captain Do-yoon studied Jiho with new interest. "Earth human, what combat training have you received?" "None," Jiho admitted. "I took a few taekwondo classes when I was younger, but I wasn't very good." "Interesting," Captain Do-yoon muttered. "Next test, strength." The strength test involved lifting weighted bars. Most students could lift only the lightest bars. The warrior aliens lifted the medium weights easily. When it was Jiho's turn, he lifted a heavy bar that only Juzin had managed before. For the reflex test, students had to catch small flying robots. Again, Jiho performed as well as the top warrior students, catching robots that moved too quickly for most others to see. Throughout the tests, Jiho noticed a group of elite students watching him with cold eyes. Their leader was a tall, thin alien with pale skin and large eyes who never blinked. His name tag read Jinsu. After class, Captain Do-yoon approached Jiho. "You have natural abilities that match our best warriors. Earth must be a harsh trainer." "I was just an average athlete on Earth," Jiho explained. "Nothing special." Captain Do-yoon's eyes widened. "If you are average, I cannot imagine your best warriors." As Jiho left with Taewoo, they passed Jinsu and his friends. "The Deathworlder thinks he's special," Jinsu said loudly, "just because he can run and jump." Jiho tried to keep walking, but Taewoo stopped. "He earned his scores fairly," Taewoo said, surprising Jiho with his defense. Jinsu's eyes narrowed. "He's getting special treatment because he's a novelty. Some of us had to work hard to get into this academy." "I'm not looking for trouble," Jiho said calmly. "Your kind always brings trouble," Jinsu replied. "My species can read minds, you know. Your thoughts are violent." "That's not true," Jiho protested. "Isn't it?" Jinsu smiled coldly. "You come from a world of predators and prey, of fighting and survival. The academy doesn't need that primitive thinking." As they walked away, Taewoo looked worried. "Be careful of Jinsu. His species has powerful telepathic abilities and a lot of political influence." Jiho nodded, surprised by this new challenge. He had expected physical difficulties at the academy, but not social ones. For the first time, he realized that being different could be dangerous as well as amazing. Jiho stared at the complex equations on his tablet. Advanced galactic mathematics was his worst subject. While he could outrun and outlift most students, numbers made his head hurt. "Time's up. announced the teacher, a floating brain in a clear container. Send your answers now. Joe had only finished half the problems. He sighed and submitted his work, knowing he had failed again. After class, he checked his scores. As expected, he had earned a low mark. Physical abilities might make him special, but they couldn't help him graduate. Trouble with math? Asked a musical voice behind him. Jiho turned to see a beautiful crystal-like being. Her body seemed made of blue transparent gems that caught the light. Her name tag read Sunwa. I'm terrible at it, Jiho admitted. I could help you, Sunwa offered. My species has perfect memory. We remember every equation we've ever seen. That would be amazing, Jiho said gratefully. I'm Jiho, from Earth. I know who you are, Sunwa said with a tinkling laugh that sounded like small bells. Everyone knows the Deathworlder. As they walked to the library, Jiho noticed how carefully Sunwa moved. Her crystalline body made gentle clinking sounds with each step. Are you okay? He asked. My species is very fragile, she explained. A simple fall could shatter parts of me. That's why I move slowly. In the library, they found a quiet corner. As Sunwa began explaining the math problems, Jiho was amazed at how clearly she made everything seem. You're a great teacher, he said after solving a problem correctly. And you're not stupid, she replied. You just learned math differently on Earth. As weeks passed, Jiho and Sunwa met regularly. He improved in mathematics, and she helped him with galactic political science, another difficult subject. One evening, they were studying late when a group of large furry students entered the library. They were laughing and pushing each other, not watching where they were going. Jiho saw they were heading straight for Sunwa. Without thinking, he jumped up and placed himself between them and her. Careful, he warned as the furry students nearly crashed into him. They stopped, recognizing him. The Earth human. Sorry, we didn't see you. Not me, Jiho said, pointing to Sunwa. Her. She could be seriously hurt if you bumped into her. The furry students apologized and moved away more carefully. Thank you, Sunwa said quietly. Most people don't think about how easily I can break. Where I come from, we look out for each other, Jiho said simply. Sunwa's crystal body glowed slightly brighter. Tell me more about Earth. Is it really as dangerous as everyone says? Jiho smiled. It's beautiful, actually. Yes, we have storms and predators, but we also have sunsets that paint the sky in colors, forests full of life, and oceans that stretch beyond the horizon. It sounds wonderful and terrifying, Sunwa said. On my homeworld, nothing ever changes. The weather is always the same. Nothing unexpected ever happens. Humans keep predators as pets, you know, Jiho said, remembering his earlier conversations. My dog Mango sleeps on my bed. Sunwa's crystal body flashed with shock. You sleep next to a predator. Dogs are loyal and loving, Jiho explained. They protect their human families. How strange, Sunwa mused. On my world, different species never help each other. Everyone stays with their own kind. Jiho thought about that. Maybe that's why Earth humans are different. We've always had to work with other species to survive our dangerous world. Later, walking back to their rooms, Sunwa asked, Do you miss Earth? Every day, Jiho admitted. But I'm glad I came here. I wouldn't have met you otherwise. Sunwa's body glowed with a soft blue light. I'm glad too. You're the first person who ever thought to protect me. Jiho realized that while his strength made him special at the academy, it was his human compassion that had earned him his most valuable friendship. Exam week arrived at the Galactic Academy. All students gathered in the Grand Examination Hall, a massive room that could hold over 1,000 beings at once. Jiho felt nervous but prepared. After weeks of studying with Sunwa, he finally understood enough to pass his courses. Good luck, Taewoo said as they took their seats. I heard this exam determines our future specializations. Jiho nodded. Around the room, he saw many familiar faces. Hami waved her 4 arms from across the hall. Hyunwoo's antennae twitched anxiously as he reviewed notes. Sunhwa sat in a special padded seat to protect her fragile form. In the corner, Jiho spotted Jinsu and his group. They whispered together, occasionally glancing at Jiho with cold eyes. "Welcome to midterm examinations," announced Director Nara from the front platform. "You have 3 hours to complete all sections. Begin now." The exam started normally. Jiho focused on the questions, carefully working through each one. After an hour, he noticed something strange. The room seemed to be getting hotter. At first, he ignored it. Earth's summers had been much hotter than this, but soon, students began to show signs of distress. Hami's purple skin had darkened. Plant students were wilting visibly. "Something's wrong with the environmental controls," someone called out. The temperature display on the wall showed 40 degrees Celsius and rising quickly. Warning lights began to flash. "Remain calm," Director Nara said, but her voice sounded strained. "Security is checking the system." The heat continued to rise. Now the air felt thick and hard to breathe. Oxygen levels were dropping. Jiho's skin prickled with an odd sensation. Radiation warnings had activated on the walls. Students began to panic. Some collapsed at their desks. Others rushed toward the exits, but the doors had sealed automatically during the emergency. "Jiho," Taewoo gasped beside him. "I can't breathe." Jiho looked around. The conditions were becoming deadly for most species, but for him, it felt like a hot, smoggy day in Seoul. Uncomfortable, but survivable. He made a quick decision. "Where are the manual environmental controls?" he asked Taewoo. "Back wall." Taewoo pointed weakly before slumping in his seat. Jiho stood and began moving through the chaos. The radiation made his skin burn, but he pushed forward. Near the back wall, he found a control panel with warning lights flashing. As he examined it, a voice spoke behind him. "It won't work," said Jinsu, standing with 2 of his friends. "We made sure of that." "You did this?" Joe asked in shock. "People are dying." "Not dying," Jinsu said coldly. "Just failing. The weak don't deserve to be here." Jiho realized with horror that this was sabotage, not an accident. "Fix it," he demanded. "No," Jinsu smiled. "But it's interesting that you're still standing. These conditions would kill most species within minutes." "This is nothing," Jiho said, thinking quickly. "It's like a hot summer day on Earth with poor air quality." While Jinsu was distracted by his words, Jiho's eyes scanned the control panel. He noticed a small emergency reset button behind a glass cover. "Your primitive planet must truly be a nightmare," Jinsu said. In one quick motion, Jiho broke the glass cover with his elbow and hit the reset button. Alarms blared. Overhead sprinklers activated, spraying cool mist throughout the hall. Vents opened, bringing fresh oxygen. The temperature began to drop rapidly. "What have you done?" Jinsu hissed, his pale skin wet from the sprinklers. "Saved everyone," Jiho replied. "Including you." Security officers rushed in as the doors unsealed. They quickly surrounded Jinsu and his friends. "They caused the system failure," Jiho told the officers. "They admitted it to me." As medics treated the affected students, Professor Biol approached Jiho. "You remained functional in conditions that would have killed most species," she said, scanning him with a medical device. "And you used that ability to help others instead of just saving yourself." Jiho shrugged. "That's what humans do. We protect our community." As he helped carry Taewoo to the medical bay, Jiho realized something important. His Earth adaptations weren't just about personal survival. They gave him the strength to help others when they needed it most. 2 days after the exam incident, Jinsu and his friends were suspended from the academy. The official announcements said they had endangered fellow students through unauthorized system access. Most students now looked at Jiho with new respect. He wasn't just physically strong, he had saved lives. The Cultural Exchange Day presentations begin tomorrow. Tehu reminded Jiho as they ate breakfast. Are you ready? Jiho nodded. Each student had to give a presentation about their homeworld's history and culture. After weeks of hearing questions about Earth, he was excited to share the full story. I hope I don't scare everyone too much, Jiho said, only half joking. The next day, the presentation hall was packed. Usually, attendance was low for Cultural Exchange Day, but word had spread that the Earth human would be speaking. Everyone wanted to hear about the mysterious Deathworld. Jiho watched other students present first. A water-world species talked about their underwater cities. A hive mind collective explained how their shared consciousness worked. Sunwood gave a beautiful presentation about her crystal planet's art forms. Finally, it was Jiho's turn. He walked to the stage, feeling nervous as hundreds of eyes watched him. Hello, he began. My name is Jiho Kim, and I'm from Earth. Before I start, I want to say that some of what I'll share might sound frightening, but please remember that humans have adapted to our world's challenges. He touched his tablet, and the large screen behind him showed an image of Earth from space, a beautiful blue planet with swirling white clouds. Earth is approximately 4.5 billion years old. Life began in our oceans about 3.5 billion years ago. Humans as a species have only existed for about 300,000 years. Jiho showed a timeline of Earth's development. He explained how early humans had to survive using only simple tools against large predators and harsh weather. Our history is filled with challenges, Jiho continued. We've survived ice ages, meteor impacts, massive volcanic eruptions, and countless natural disasters. He showed images of hurricanes, earthquakes, and volcanoes. The audience gasped. And these are just the natural challenges, Jiho said. Unfortunately, humans have also fought many wars against each other. The next images showed ancient battles, world wars, and modern conflicts. The audience grew utterly silent. In just the last 100 years, humans went from basic flight to space travel. We've split the atom, mapped our own genome, created worldwide information networks, and developed artificial intelligence. We've done all this while living on a planet that tries to kill us every day. Jiho showed images of human achievements, skyscrapers, space stations, medical breakthroughs, and art. But Earth isn't just dangerous, it's also beautiful. His final images showed stunning landscapes, mountains, beaches, forests, and deserts bathed in golden sunlight. This is what makes humans special, I think. We don't just survive our harsh world. We find beauty in it. We protect each other. We build communities. And we always keep moving forward, no matter what challenges come. When Jiho finished, the room was completely silent for several seconds. Then one student began to clap. Others joined in. Soon, the entire hall was filled with applause, chirps, whistles, and other sounds of approval from various species. After the presentations, Professor Bayol approached Jiho. That was quite revealing, she said thoughtfully. May I speak with you privately? They walked to her office, where she closed the door carefully. What you shared today was impressive, but also concerning to some, Professor Bayol said. The Galactic Federation has been debating whether Earth should be fully integrated into our community. What? Jiho was surprised. Why wouldn't we be? Some fear that humans might be too aggressive or unpredictable, she explained. Your history of warfare is troubling to many peaceful species. But we've moved beyond much of that, Jiho protested. Professor Bayol nodded. I believe that, and your time here is helping to prove it. You're showing that humans can be both strong and kind, both survivors and builders. As Jiho left her office, he felt a new weight on his shoulders. He wasn't just a student anymore. In some ways, he was representing his entire species to the galaxy. 1 month after Cultural Exchange Day, a normal afternoon at the academy suddenly turned chaotic. Warning alarms blared throughout the station. Red lights flashed in every corridor. This is not a drill, announced Director Nera's voice over the speakers. The station's core systems are failing. All students returned to quarters immediately. Jiho was studying with Sunway in the library when the alarms began. Other students panicked, rushing toward the exits. "What's happening?" Sunway asked, her crystal body dimming with fear. "I don't know," Jiho said, "but we need to stay calm." The station shuddered violently. Lights flickered. Jiho quickly moved to protect Sunwa from falling debris. "There's a crack in the hull," someone shouted. "We're losing air pressure." Emergency shields closed over the library windows. The artificial gravity stuttered, causing books and tablets to float upward before crashing down again. "The backup systems should be working," Taewoo said, joining them. "This shouldn't be happening." Jiho thought quickly. "Where's the main control room?" "Level 1, Taewoo answered, "but only staff are allowed there." "They might need help," Jiho decided. "I'm going." "I'm coming too," Taewoo said, surprising Jiho. Colony humans know a lot about space station systems. As they headed for Level 1, they met Hyunwoo in the corridor. "The station core is overheating," the insect-like student explained. "Engineers can't get close enough to fix it." Jiho remembered his first day at the academy. "Is it a temperature problem? I can handle heat better than most." They reached Level 1 to find chaos. Engineers and staff rushed around frantically. Director Nara stood with Professor Bayol, looking at emergency reports. "The core cooling system has failed," Professor Bayol explained when she saw them. "Temperature is at 70 degrees Celsius and rising. If it reaches 100 degrees Celsius, the whole station could explode." "I can withstand that heat," Jiho offered. "Let me help." "It's not just the heat," Director Nara said. "Radiation levels are dangerous even for an Earth human." "Give me a radiation suit then," Jiho insisted. "I need to try." After a moment's hesitation, Director Nara nodded. "Prepare a partial radiation suit for him. It won't provide complete protection, but it might be enough." As Jiho prepared to enter the core, Taewoo approached with a tablet. "I've been studying the station schematics. The problem might be a blocked cooling valve. If you can clear it, the automatic systems should restart." "I'll find it," Jiho promised. Sunwoo arrived, looking worried. "Be careful," she said. "My species can sense energy patterns. The core's pattern is very unstable." Even Jusen, the warrior alien, had joined them. "Your body is strong, Earth human, but know when to retreat. There is no honor in a pointless death." Jiho entered the core section wearing a thin radiation suit. Immediately, the heat hit him like a wall. It was hard to breathe. Sweat poured down his face. The radiation made his skin tingle painfully. Through blurry eyes, he saw the main cooling system. Just as Taewoo had predicted, a valve was jammed. Something had melted and hardened, blocking the cool liquid from flowing. Jiho tried to turn the manual override, but it wouldn't budge. The metal was too hot to touch, even with protective gloves. He looked around desperately for a tool. Then he noticed a small maintenance robot trapped under fallen debris. Its extendable arm was exactly what he needed. Ignoring the burning in his lungs, Jiho freed the robot and detached its arm. Using the robot arm as a lever, he pushed against the valve with all his strength. For a terrible moment, nothing happened. Then, with a loud crack, the valve turned. Cool liquid rushed through the pipes. Steam hissed around him. Warning alarms changed to recovery tones. The temperature began to drop. Stumbling back to the entrance, Jiho collapsed into the arms of the medical team. Through his daze, he heard cheers and celebration. Later, in the medical bay, Jiho woke to find his friends around his bed. Nurse Minji assured him he would recover fully. "You saved the station," Director Nara said, "and proved something important about humans." "What's that?" Joe asked weakly. "That your greatest strength isn't your physical resilience," she replied. "It's your willingness to risk yourself for others." 1 week later, fully recovered, Jiho stood before the entire academy as Director Nara made a special announcement. "Based on what we have learned from student Jiho Kim, The Galactic Federation has voted. Earth will be granted full membership in our community, effective immediately." The room erupted in applause. Joe smiled, knowing that the path was now open for more humans to join the stars, not as curiosities from a death world, but as valued members of a greater galactic family.